This is the Watching the Wireless podcast. My name is Jamie Dyer and I'm joined today via the medium of Skype with Johnny Jenkins. Hi Johnny, welcome to the podcast. Can you please tell us about your role within the radio industry?
Jamie, hi, really good to talk to you. So I first got into radio when I was 14. I did work experience at a local community radio station, Gateway 97.8. I did the travel and the weather and the local events guide, and I volunteered and sort of never let them get rid of me. I eventually started presenting an afternoon show, and then got a job out of it. So I'm the editor now at Gateway 97.8. I present at a couple of other stations as well in and around Essex and surrounding areas, but Gateway 97.8, we're a community station in Basildon, in Essex, and we're really in the heart of the community. We're right in the middle of the shopping centre, which is right in the town centre. So everyone knows we're there. We get loads of guests in every single day, and we're on air 24/7.
That is fantastic. So as an editor, what does that job involve?
So I suppose in some places it would be called a news editor. The reason it's just editor is because I don't just manage news, I manage other things as well. Personally, my focus is on news and politics, so political updates. As you can imagine, it's quite a busy time to be doing that at the moment, and making sure we've always got news for every single show. And then also just managing interviews as a whole, making sure that we haven't got loads of interviews on one show and none on the rest, that they're all balanced out, that we've always got a local content. Also means that we're covering local events. So I've just come back from a fantastic Japanese cultural event. It took place in Basildon. We did our live outside broadcast there the weekend just gone, and we had loads and loads of guests from all over around the world chatting to us. So I make sure things like that work over the summer. As Basildon turned 70, we did another outside broadcast on a big red Routemaster bus, proper sort of old school. And we travelled around the borough on the day, live on the radio. So managing news, managing politics, interviews, and sort of outside broadcasts and big events like that.
Which is often a very forgotten area of community radio. I mean, that is really its selling point, isn't it?
Exactly, because, I mean, you can get your listeners and, you have your regular listeners and things like that. But until you actually go out into the community, you make the effort, because you've got to go to them. They won't come to you all the time. You have some that will come to you, but there will be some that you will never catch unless you go to them. You go to them, you go to their areas, you take your studio there, you do shows from there, they get to meet you, they get to take a selfie with you, and they get to see how it all works. And then they think in the morning, oh, I might tune into Gateway's breakfast show, let's see, or that Johnny's on today, let's see what he's like. And by going outside on these outside broadcasts, yes, they're a lot of work. They take a lot of time to plan and put together. But once you actually do them, you'll notice more and more people start to realise who you are and what you do. And of course, that means they'll start listening as well.
How much kind of comment on music do you get from your audience? Or are they literally just focused on the local content?
We of course play music like every radio station does. I don't think, you occasionally get your message to say, I love this song, or will you play us a song? We do requests as well. Sometimes people pop their head in and say, can I hear a song from Madness or whatever? And, of course we stick it on. But the focus for me, and I think as a station as a whole, is our content. The old saying, content is king, and making sure you've got that stuff that makes you different from the rest. Anyone can tune into a global station and hear the latest music. Anyone can tune in, to Radio 2 and hear a mix of the oldies and the new songs. And sure, we can play similar songs, but where we're different and where we catch those listeners is by the local content.
So with this content, have you branched out into social media?
We love social media. At Gateway 978, if you want to follow us on Twitter, especially when we go to these events, we have someone working on social media for the whole day, making sure that we're doing all our, hashtagging and tweeting and Facebooking. We haven't branched out to Instagram yet, but we get a lot on Facebook. And actually a good trick that I've been sharing with people recently is put out your post on Facebook, and sure, you'll get a few likes and comments and shares and whatever, but put them into borough community pages, because there will be them. Just search your town or your city or whatever on Facebook. There'll be groups, and in some cases with ours, in the Basildon community groups, there's 20,000 people in these groups on Facebook. All you've got to do is join them as yourself or as the station's page, share your story, share the interview into that group. And we've had, hundreds and hundreds of shares on some articles because they've been picked up in that community page. And it goes back to what I was saying about going out and outside broadcast, reaching out to the community. And, it's the same, but just digitally, really, isn't it? If you share something into the community page, people go, they sort of, you remind them that you're there. They start sharing out your article. And then, we did that for a lot of news, a lot of interviews. Social media is something that's really important to us.
I can definitely vouch for that. As someone who once ran a community station, those local groups, either in villages, towns, even counties, boroughs, as you say, are really useful for reaching those people. I'm blown away by what I'm hearing here, the enthusiasm. I mean, it's obviously you're really enthusiastic about it. When it comes to other things, I mean, is this your day job or do you do something else on the side?
So, funnily enough, I'm a student as I also work at Gateway. So the nature of radio, and working at the moment is you can work from anywhere, can't you? So I'm based for about half of the year in Coventry at Warwick University. I study politics, hence the interest in politics. And then when I'm at home and I'm, in Essex, then I'm in the office a lot more. But when I'm not, I'm still doing the same job. I'm just doing it remotely a lot of the time.
You mentioned that you do other shows. Is that at the same station or is that somewhere else?
So I do shows at Gateway. I do the Sunday breakfast. I've done that one for a few years, from Sunday 9 till 12. I do drive time shows, mainly when I'm based in Essex. I present on the student station, Raw 12:51 a.m. I do a show there quite obnoxiously titled The Johnny Jenkins Show. And I do a couple of shows on another sort of smaller internet community station in Essex, Castle Point FM.
You do a politics course at university. A lot of people would kind of say, why aren't you doing a radio course? But do you think that the course that you do helps you with the job despite no radio?
It does, and there's a real reason why I'm studying politics and not studying journalism or radio or broadcast journalism. And it's that my view is, and a lot of people have told me this, specialise in your area. Specialise, for me, in politics or whatever it is you're doing. Get your degree and then do your journalism course. So the plan for me is to finish my politics degree at the moment. So I've got the specialism in politics because that's what I'm really interested in. And then to do a postgraduate degree in broadcast journalism, or then start building up the sort of actual formal qualification in journalism. But so much of it also is about experience, isn't it? I've been covering local news and politics for quite a few years now, and a lot of it you do learn on the job. And you speak to the top correspondents, and they say, especially with Brexit and the recent sort of Supreme Court case, for example, so much of it they were learning the same day and learning on the job, and then relaying it to the listeners and to the viewers. So, yeah, my course isn't focused on journalism. It's not focused on radio, but the politics sides aid me to know my specialist area better. And I think that for now, anyway, the journalism side you get, from the sort of on-air practice and the time you've spent doing it already, and then I'll get some formal qualifications later on.
You mentioned Brexit, which is the big topic at the moment in media land, all forms of media, really. Do you find, as a community station, are you covering Brexit at all, or are you steering away from it?
I cover Brexit almost every single day of the week, and sometimes you tire of it. But this is the news. This is what's going on, and what we do in our sort of daily politics spot is we do cover national news. We aren't just a local news source. Whilst that is really, really, really important to us, I think you need to be feeding both national and local news. So we do a bit of both. We do talk about Brexit. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the Community Media Association conference, and we're talking about Brexit, and some people saying, actually, no, the beauty of community media is that we don't talk about Brexit. Well, it's the elephant in the room. You can't ignore it. And when you're interviewing politicians and community figures, they are thinking about it as well. And, when you're interviewing a group that gets funding from the European Union, they are worried about Brexit. Or when you're interviewing the Conservative Party, they want to make sure Boris Johnson does well nationally so they can get their votes, because they know if Brexit isn't delivered that their local votes will be hit as well. So, it is all interconnected. It all ties together. So I don't think it's feasible to ignore Brexit.
I do agree with you there. I think it's an important issue that is being covered quite a lot, but certainly on a local level is still as important as the national thing. I mean, when you're doing the role that you do at the station, have you got anyone working underneath you?
So I manage every show that goes on between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So we don't have the sort of, I think, again, the beauty of the community station is that you don't have the sort of superstructures within the organisations. Yes, you've got the directors, one of them being the programme control and the other one running sort of grants and funding and that sort of thing. But other than that, we're all mates. We're all at the same level. We just all have different roles. Whilst I cover interviews and politics and things, other people I will always go to if I want to know what the latest top track is, in music, or we have a lot of specialist shows as well. So our rock presenter Ari or our classical presenter Hannah, if I want something about their niches, we go to them. I think what it's about is utilising the skills that we all have.
In those daytime slots, who's controlling the music? Do you have a playlist?
Yeah, so we have a playlist put together by the programme controller. So you come in and all your songs are in there. Of course, you can chop and change it a little bit. Something we've introduced recently, actually, we do a gold song. We do 2 an hour. So in the first hour, in a 3-hour show, the first 2 hours we do a 60s gold and then a 70s, and then we do an 80s, 90s, and a noughties and a 10s or 2010s or whatever you want to call it. And that just sort of that shows that we have a real mix of music. Of course, you have that thing sometimes where you think, oh, I really like that song at the moment. I might just pop it in, and you do occasionally, but generally the music is sort of all laid out for you, so you can focus on making your show the best it can be.
Do you guys have a training scheme for like new presenters?
Yeah, we do. There's sort of 2 strands to this. So first of all, if you're an adult and you want to come and present, we train you up. A lot of it is shadowing and doing dummy shows and having a go yourself. But then the other side of it is for the youngsters, we do a radio club, a youth group from age 11 to age 18 or to 25, depending on the circumstances. And people come in and they work on our show, that they take over the airways for an hour between 11 and 12 on a Saturday morning. So they come in at 10 and then they prepare their show, they'll write their features. One of them presents it and the rest, supply features. They're live from 11 till 12. Then after 12, we work on courses. So we do level 1 and level 2 qualifications in radio afterwards. So it's a really sort of neat little club. And we have so many fantastic young people that come along to our club, learn loads about radio. They get to experience themselves, they get to meet the team, and some of them even present sort of daytime shows in the week once they've built up their confidence.
It sounds like such a great initiative that, in an era where we're starting to see kind of the end of independent radio and these bigger companies taking over, how important do you think community radio is in general?
Community radio has always been important, but the time is now for community stations to really, really put themselves on the map. You hinted there towards, Global shutting down all their smaller stations. And so, for example, where we are in Essex, Heart Essex is no longer. A lot of people have been switching from Heart Essex to us. You've got the local BBC stations, but, if you don't want to listen to the BBC, and not everyone does, and they do great work, and we partner with them on some things. But, the community station offers just another level of local content, and in a way that no other station really can. We are in the town centre, we are the boots on the ground, and we go and meet the people and go to these events, and we're not covering a county, we're not covering a country, we're covering one borough. And in our case, actually, we do Thurrock as well, which is just next to Basildon. So we do 1 or 2 boroughs, and that level of local content just can't be hit by anything else. And sure, if you want to hear Amanda Holden in the morning, fine, but she's not going to tell you anything about your town centre. She's not going to tell you what people are talking about in those Facebook groups I mentioned. She won't tell you what happened, in politics, in my case, at the council meeting last night. You get your generic content. That's what community radio is for. It's about really, knowing your community, knowing your area, and just providing a different level of broadcasting. And I think it's so important. So as I say, the time is now for community stations to really, really, pull up their socks and get on with it and bring in the listeners.
Outside of this, do you have time to listen to anyone else on the dial?
Oh, I listen to all sorts of stations. I start my day either with Radio 2 or Radio 4, depending how newsy I'm feeling that day. I like listening to Radio 5 in the morning. I also I watch a lot of TV as well, so I watch a lot of daytime TV because some of the things they do, are interesting to transfer over to radio. In the afternoon, I love to hear Jeremy Vine on Radio 2. I think he's fantastic. I watch a lot of rolling news as well throughout the day. In the evening, I like to listen to our station because some of our specialist shows are just absolutely fantastic. But I like to, try new stations all the time. So when I'm not at Gateway or when I'm on days when I'm there, I really like to listen to a lot of other stations because, some of these shows that other stations are doing are, really, really, really fantastic, and on the national stations as well. And you can pick up a lot. If you think about a political interview, and if I might interview a leader of the council, for example, lots of the skills I'm using can be picked up from listening to Nick Ferrari on LBC in the morning, or whoever it might be. So a lot of the skills are transferable, but just the content is different.
And I think it is important to kind of listen to as much out there as possible, because you do pick up little things, don't you?
Yeah, you really do. And there's nothing new in radio, is there? It's all been done before. So listening to other people, you can pick things up, see how they do it, adjust it. And there are so many brilliant shows and presenters out there. It would be foolish not to listen to them and, be so narrow-minded as, to just listen to your own station. There's a whole world of radio out there, and there's so much fantastic talent. There's so many brilliant people and brilliant shows in the industry at the moment, so it's so important to listen to them.
It is, yes. And if people wanted to check out the station that you're mainly on, where would they need to go for that?
So head to our website, gateway978.com. We're on Facebook if you search Gateway 97.8, on Twitter, Gateway 978, and my Twitter is at Johnny Jenkins DJ.
Well, Johnny, thank you so much for being on this edition of Watching the Wireless.
Thanks, Jamie. Great to talk to you.